Hey folks, this is Mike again from the Ground to Green Homestead. No, this is not the tundra, cold tundra. This is Southwest Michigan here. And I'm going to be going over some tips and some advice if you're a new chicken owner or even a seasoned chicken owner. Maybe some things you might want to consider going into the winter. I know a lot of questions come up a lot of times the winter, sometimes more so than with the summer. Chickens have built-in winter coat, so to speak, with their down feathers, and they are actually pretty hardy in the winter. They get very curious, but there's a few things you do need to check on. So this is my run, quite covered with snow. I will be getting some of the snow load off of that, hopefully soon here today, but just kind of show you some things I do. So I built this shade area up over this past summer season. So they have a spot that's relatively dry. The one piece of electricity, or electrical powered equipment I have is a water heater, de-icer for my main 5-gallon water jug there. I have that running up to a cord protector, so that's completely enclosed. And then that extension cord runs back into my garage to a GFCI outlet. So, as you can see, the chickens are out. The chickens are active. Normally, I haven't had time to. I normally put up just a piece of tarp for a draft protection. But they have pretty good... they have pretty good coverage. If they need to go inside the coop, they can do that. If they need to come outside and explore, they can definitely do that. Not all of my flock is outside right now. They definitely come out when it's time for treats. So I make sure to I got really any protein-based treat is encouraged throughout the colder months, especially when they start molting. I got these minnows on sale. They love these. So they go crazy for those. And then I also have a mixture of just some basic scratch here, and they go crazy over that. There's some other things people do. They do their own little homemade recipes and like different mixtures to try to keep their body temps up. I mainly increase the protein count, and I make sure that they have plenty of scratch and whatnot so they don't get bored. Plenty of feed and fresh water that's definitely de-iced. If you don't have a water de-icer, well, I'll show you in a second. You're going to have to do it the old manual way. So important things to check for is you want to make sure your run or your enclosures gives them some sort of cover. As you can see, even with the hardware mesh I have up here, and that snow's already gotten quite thick up top, but quite a bit falls through, and you can see where I have the enclosed area how much drier that is. That gives them, the ability to come outside and have some, maybe not necessarily warm ground, just somewhat warmer, I guess, if that makes sense, than having to walk around in the snow. But you can see from their little tracks they still go explore, but they really don't go too much past. They'll get a little curious, but you want to make sure they have adequate coverage. You want to make sure that they have a secure run. This is a time of year where predators like to come in, and they've even found, it's like there was a spot I had to beef up this corner here. I added some framing, I guess some crude framing and some pavers there because I had something attempting to dig in the corner there. So when it's wintertime, you just want to make sure your chickens are well protected, your chickens are safe from the elements, and they have all the vital nutrients they need to thrive. So it looks a little messy right now, but it's actually quite organized. Everything's covered with, I think we got up to over a foot of snow here, but all my food is out here. It's enclosed in these containers, and then I've been bungeeing them down to keep critters out of these containers, but I've got plenty of feed on hand and accessible, so yes, I'll have to knock the snow off of it, but I won't have to carry bags of feed from wherever I normally would store them, and the metal containers keeps the critters out of the feed as well. So just keep that in mind, that maybe it's not necessarily a predator situation, but you will have critters looking to get in your chicken feed. Everything's looking for food right now because it's harder to access. It's cold, and your little bucket of layer feed could be an all-you-can-eat buffet to some little fuzzy friends. Next is the coop itself, and I use the deep litter method, which actually acts as it has a slight decomposition to it, which does give off heat. And when I may not be explaining it well, but the decomposition process gives off heat, and it is a noticeable temperature increase in here, opposed to outside. Just some quick things I do. I insulated the top roof. I closed the windows, and it can seem like the chickens are cold, and if they're too cold, they'll hang out in here, but it is a noticeable temperature increase when you step in here versus being outside. So the chickens are very well protected in here. The biggest thing is no drafts and no wetness. You don't want them to get drafty, you don't want them to get wet. So if they start to get drafty and wet, that's where the problems can occur. So I've monitored them very closely and make sure that none of them are appearing lethargic or appearing sick, because this is a time of year where their immune systems need to be up. But they do quite well in cold weather. Most breeds, I should say, not all breeds, but most of the dual hardy breeds I've selected, Orpingtons, Plymouths, the Brahmas, they seem to do well in the cold weather. But I do not use a heat source in my coop at all. And it's gotten down to about 20 degrees, maybe a little colder at night here. And I don't use a heat lamp. I don't use a heat plate. I know if it's extreme negative temperatures that, maybe I would consider a heat plate. I would not consider a heat lamp. It dries everything out, and they are a direct heat source that have been known to cause fires and unfortunately burn down many coops. But that is my 2 cents, and you'll hear that over and over again. I have not had to deal with extreme negative temperatures in Michigan, maybe like other places like Alaska. I'm not sure how you would deal with that, but speaking of the Midwest, typically in similar climate areas, you shouldn't need a heat lamp. The chickens will huddle together and they will keep themselves warm. If you have an automatic door, make sure you check your little solar panels, because for them to work properly, they need to be uncovered with snow, because it's actually kept my door from opening on certain days. And if that frosts over, it can keep the batteries from charging, because that doubles as a charger for my rechargeable batteries for my automatic chicken coop door. So just something to consider. Make sure all your latches, everything opens nice and easy. I had to revamp my door last year. This did not open easy, and now I extended the height. I added pavers, and I can close that with one hand now. So just something to consider. Check all your operation of your coop and your run, and the sliding doors. Make sure nothing's frozen to the point to where it's inoperable, because that can make things even more frustrating, especially in colder temperatures. You don't want to be dealing with any of that. So here's kind of an overview of the run, all covered in snow. And it looks like, man, how could the chickens possibly be comfortable in there? Well, they probably aren't the happiest, but they're doing well. They're eating, they're drinking, and I'm still getting, right now, it probably will decrease as the season goes on, but about 8 to 9 eggs a day. My next tip is don't buy chickens too late in the season. These were some babies we got at the pretty much the last of the chick days, and they're not big enough yet to go into the coop with the others. Chicken math got us. It happens to the best of us. But they're going to come out here, and they are fully feathered, so I made sure they were fully feathered before I let them outside. But, oh, you missed the bar there, little one. But, you know, it's definitely more difficult because I don't have a second power source up in here. That's frozen solid, so I have to, every day, right now, as long as the temperatures are remaining below freezing, I got to take that out, and I got to thaw it out, and I got to fill it up with water, and I got to bring it back out. So until they get big enough to join the others, that's just going to have to be the process. So it's unfortunate, but we chose this because we bought chickens at the very last part of the season, and until they get just a little bit larger, I wouldn't trust for them to be incorporated into the flock yet. I just don't think it'd be a wise choice. But this backup coop we bought early in the season is suiting 4 of them perfectly for right now. It's probably about max capacity. I wouldn't do too many more than 4. And they're all staying warm in there. Again, they have no external heat source. They huddle together and they come out for a little bit. And when they get too cold, they go back inside. So chickens can do very well in these colder temps. Probably more so in a lot of cases than when it's excessively hot, because they do have the ability to keep themselves warm. I know sometimes that's a hard concept to consider because we take a step outside and we're like, oh my goodness, how could anything endure this? But they do quite well. Just they do need some attention. They do need some care, just like anything else in these temperatures. But no need to be overly concerned. So I hope this video helps. I plan to continue to do content. It just, lots been going on lately, so I wanted to throw out a winter tip video out there. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe, and open to suggestions, maybe things you've done that has worked and things that have helped. I don't expect to get everything on every video, but I just try to throw some things out there, especially for new chicken owners. Until next time, have a good one.